Hello, my dear friends. I want to talk a little bit today about psychology. You know, today there are more than ever many different so-called personality disorders classified by the Psychiatric Association, Medical Association. And I've been accused of having a number of them, and perhaps I did at one time. Perhaps I still do. You know, in the AA, which I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I've been sober 33 years, they tell you once you're an alcoholic, you'll always be an alcoholic. It's a disease. You'll never really be cured in the sense that you won't be an alcoholic, but you can be reformed. You can stop using alcohol and have a productive, healthy life. I've done that. I didn't do it with a lot of help from AA. I went to a few meetings, but I did it other means, other ways, mostly on my own. I did have the support of many friends, and I did have a little bit of help from therapists from time to time. One thing that helped me stop using alcohol was the psychiatric drugs that I began taking in the early 90s. The reason being, when I used those psychiatric drugs, they put me in a different altered state of mind. Much of my life then, I had impaired judgment. I did not use exercise good judgment. I felt many years, most of the years I was on them, I didn't have much of a conscience. I felt like I could do many things that were immoral and illegal at times and had no conscience about it. So those psychiatric drugs, they weren't doing me a lot of favors in many ways, but they did help keep me sober. Because when I did try to redo alcohol and drink alcohol again a couple of occasions, just a small amount, I couldn't even do that. I passed out. So I felt this is almost like taking Antabuse, a substance that keeps people from drinking alcohol. These drugs kept me sober, you might say, in a way, for a number of years. But once I had gotten to 25 years, I knew I was never going to drink alcohol again. I had no place in my life, so I was pretty much cured in that regard. But in terms of the personality disorders, I was told back then in the early 90s that I had bipolar type 2 disorder. The psychiatrist was pretty sure of it because of a 20-question questionnaire on a piece of paper that I filled out in about 15 minutes or less. He determined that I had bipolar 2 syndrome and I needed to be on 3 different medications, including lithium, Klonopin, and Wellbutrin to begin with. And then I was put on 17 different ones total over 25 years. Told all those years I had to stay on these medications or I would just literally be nuts and crazy and, would not be good. So I took their advice. They were the doctors. I believe they were looking out for my best interests, but I don't really have a big axe to grind with the psychiatrists that prescribed them or the pharma industry for that matter. They're available, but it doesn't mean we have to take those drugs. So we have to have some accountability about it in the long run, and I didn't. I just subscribed to what they told me and I took them mindlessly. I wished I had done more research. Today there's a lot more information available and a lot more stories of people that have had issues with it over the years, and I'm one of them. Later, I was re-diagnosed by a psychotherapist about 6 years ago as that I did not have bipolar disorder, that she viewed me more as someone who had ADHD. Well, it turns out I've looked at the tests for both bipolar disorder and ADHD, and I don't test real high on either one anymore. I do have some characteristics, as most people do, but it doesn't mean that I have enough to say I'm definitely in that category. I was actually accused of a few years ago by a close friend of mine of being narcissistic. I've explored that very deeply and carefully with my psychotherapist now, who's a high-level PhD doctor and very knowledgeable and experienced, and she assured me I'm not a narcissist, even though practically everybody has some slight narcissistic tendencies at different times. It doesn't make you an out-and-out pathological narcissist. So it's have to be very careful from people that are not even trained in the business, or even if they are, that their diagnosis could be wrong in terms of a personality disorder. I even began self-diagnosing myself to wonder if I had histrionic personality disorder, a borderline personality disorder. Again, I test positive for some of them, but not all. I'm about in the middle. And what I'm saying here is I think if a good therapist, a good psychotherapist, and an intention to have better quality lifestyles, such as eating a much better diet, regular exercise, some stress reduction, such as meditation or visualization, relaxation techniques, engaging in some purposeful activities, whether it's your job, career, hobby, creative interests, family, developing good relationships, positive relationships with people, associating with positive people. I mean, all of these can work wonders. Herbal supplements too, for sure, can help. And I've reshaped myself, even though our personality is pretty well defined by the age 5 or 7, they say, psychologists tell us. that doesn't mean that everything is etched in stone and unchangeable. We can reshape and reinvent ourselves many ways if we really have the intention to, the desire to. I believe fundamentally a spiritual life is integral. It has been for me. And spirituality, clearly for me, I don't think there's any one type spirituality for everybody. Each person can find their own way to a spiritual path, an acknowledgement of a higher power, God, if you wish to call it, any other name. I don't think this force cares what we call it. It's our mental concept that it's important that gets in the way. Basically, it's the fact that we're aligned with something bigger than ourselves that we can, yes, have faith in. Faith that this power is real. And in tapping into this source of energy, this power, this force, it can fundamentally help us grow as a human being and become a better person. And I think it takes devotion and dedication to a spiritual practice. So yeah, that might involve prayer and meditation, reading quality books, spiritual books, if you will. And they could be along any line. They could be Christian, they don't have to be Christian. They could be Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, or they don't have to be. They can be secular. I mean, it just all depends on each individual, how you want to approach it. I think the important thing will be that you're honest with it, that you have some integrity. If you're selling out to somebody else's belief system and ideas about what spirituality is, good luck. It's probably not authentic. I think it has to be cultivated from within on your own, based on your own set of values. That's what worked for me. I tried it the other way, following other people's pathways. Didn't really work for me. It fizzled out usually after a year at the very most of trying different practices other people had recommended. Oh, this is the one you need to follow. This is the path. I have forged my own path, but that means it's been a collective of many, many different spiritual teachers that have helped guide me, both in real life and through forms such as book or audio books or YouTube videos or videos online on Gaia, these sort of things. I've learned so much over the last 6 years using this practice. So again, I offer my assistance to you out there as a coach, as a guide. I'm not charging money. There's no expense here. This is a free thing right now as far as I'm concerned. All I wish to do is help guide other people that might have issues with personality disorders. If they've been basically diagnosed as having one of one type, and maybe you're taking medications for that, I'm suggesting there's a better alternative to just taking drugs and thinking that's going to fix some mood condition you might have, whether it might be depression, anxiety, or anything along those lines associated with that. So I'll leave it at that for now. I wish you all the best. Our mental health is so important, and I think it's something that can become derailed throughout our life without our being aware of it, until sometimes we've created a mess of our life. Things are really backfiring on us, whether it's relationships, career, job issues, money issues, financial, or even creating illness and hardship for ourselves, injuries, accidents, all kinds of confusion and mayhem. These things can a lot of times be avoided by making better choices in our life. And I think it fundamentally has to start with our health, our mental health and physical health. They're so important. There's something most of us were born with in a fairly good state of health. If you weren't born with some kind of a disease or congenital defect or some disability, if you're born with good health, we tend to derail ourselves and run ourselves in the ditch, oftentimes with just poor choices and things that we put into our body, both on a physical level and also mentally with the impressions we allow ourselves to take in. So best to you all. I know that you're going to make it. And if I can help you in any way, just contact me. I'll do my best to give you some support and guidelines as to how I improved my life and how maybe I can help you, assist you in whatever issues you have going on to help your life. I am not licensed or trained in any kind of way as a doctor, psychiatrist, counselor, therapist, nothing. I'm just a layman. I'm just a person. But that's how it works, folks. We got to start connecting networks and bonds and community with each other. And I've been doing that a lot lately the last couple of years, and it's paying off big time for me. And this last couple of years with the lockdowns and COVID and everything, it's made it worse than ever to be able to do this sort of thing. So now that the gates have opened up again a little while, let's take the advantage of it. Are you with me? I'm with you. Bless you all. Namaste.